why can't America produce great soccer players, great soccer clubs? It all comes down to that little bit of magic or the X factor that differentiates open systems versus closed systems. So if you think back to the U.S. soccer national team player pool around the late 90s, early 2000s, it was made up of players who, yes, had spent some time in MLS, but also had spent a considerable amount of time in foreign open systems. You think of players like Kobe Jones or John O'Brien or Claudio Reyna, Brian McBride, and even in later years, players like Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan. Tony Sane, another great U.S. player on that time that spent time abroad in Germany. And the difference, or a lot of the development, can be credited to these players and their time in high-pressure systems abroad, systems where you are literally playing and training each day for your survival, employment, and your contract within the team, your status in the starting lineup or the first team for that particular match, the reserves or youth squads trying to work your way up to the first team. Each day you have to bring it in high-pressure, intense systems. And you contrast that with the American system, and yes, there is a factor of playing for your job and pressure, but it is much lower than the pressure of open systems around the world, where clubs are really fighting for their very life each and every year. If they get relegated a few times, all of a sudden they could be in financial trouble and they could be at risk of collapse, versus the American system, which is closed, no promotion relegation, one single club, MLS, has exclusive control of Division One. There really isn't that same pressure. It's not even close when you compare the two. So yes, there is professional pressure that will always be there by default in the U.S. sports landscape, because it is professional after all, and people do want to make it to that level, and there's a high level of competitiveness involved. But the comparison between that and open systems around the world that we're competing with is miles and miles apart. And so that's why you see the American soccer player pool generally growing or developing at a slower rate than the rest of the world. You even see our neighbors in our own region, supposedly lesser soccer nations, catching up to us in terms of player quality. And people say, oh, well, MLS and the U.S. system has helped our CONCACAF neighbors in our region catch up to us. And well, if that's true, if the few players that are in our system from those nations are contributing to their development, shouldn't our U.S. MLS players be pushing us forward by greater amounts? We have the most players in MLS of any CONCACAF nation. So naturally, if it's a result of MLS, shouldn't the U.S. be improving at a faster rate rather than a slower rate than its neighbors with less players in MLS? So the difference between 2 decades ago and today's U.S. national team player pool is negligible. You can make the case that the player pool 2 decades ago was better. And if you take me back 20 years and you tell me that we'd be in the situation today in 2018, I would have laughed. I would have thought that, we would be miles ahead by now. But instead, we're kind of just stagnating in this same rut we've been in. We've sort of hit a ceiling in a sense. So MLS came about and established professional soccer. Yes, it was early to mid 90s, and things were a lot different back then. But that was a long time ago, 25 years ago. And we can't sit and pretend like it's 20, 25 years ago when no, we are at a point where we are ready to fully embrace the global essence of soccer with an open system for all people in clubs that opens the competition to all, that encourages innovation, that puts pressure on competing clubs to one-up each other and build each and every season, puts pressure on players, executives, management, staff, coaches. Everybody is held accountable for their performance, and then clubs as a whole, just like in any other industry, if you do poorly as a business or as a club, you're going to collapse. You're not going to make money. If you do well and you innovate well, then what's going to happen? You're going to grow and you're going to make a profit. You're going to make more money and rise to a higher place in the industry. So we just need to apply that exact same open market standard to the American soccer system we have today. And there's no more American way to run it than to give everybody a fair shot. That's an American value, right? It's the American dream. But right now we run our soccer in a completely opposite, upside down way in comparison to our American values. So it's no wonder that something like the 2018 World Cup qualification failure happened for the USA. Now, I'm not saying that every single little data point correlates with the stagnation of the U.S. player pool as a whole. The USA could have very easily qualified for the 2018 World Cup, probably one goal away from making it to the World Cup. So I don't like to put a ton of stock in kind of one-off results like the 2018 failure, but it was over a 10-game campaign. We couldn't finish ahead of lesser nations in CONCACAF, and sometimes it takes failure like this to get people to think and to examine the situation we are in as an American soccer nation. When times are comfortable and times are good or seem good on the surface, no one's going to ask the hard questions. Sometimes it takes a wake-up call to really get to the heart of our issues in American soccer. And I think we're starting to get there. People are asking more and more questions. The common fan is starting to hold our U.S. Soccer Federation accountable for governing in a way which benefits all constituents to the maximum amount possible. So keep up the good work. It's up to us. Power is ultimately with the people if we choose to take it. And we as an American soccer public population, we are starting to make our voice heard for the change we want to see in our soccer. So if you like this video, make sure to share it out across social media and also subscribe right here to my channel. And I'll talk to you soon.